Well, usually when the weather gets cold, the first thing you think of is, ooh, I gotta get my car ready for winter, winterize it.
First thing I think of is I gotta get my coat. It's cold.
Okay, second thing.
All right, well, the weather is not cold, but your car getting it ready for summer is just as important for the hot weather as well. Lindsey Boetsch is live this morning getting your ride ready for those summer nights and summer days too. Hey, Lindsey.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, and you're supposed to get your oil changed just about every 3 months or every 3,000 miles, something like that. So right when the season changes is a good time to get your car's oil changed. But there are also some other things that you need to do. Greg Arns joins me now. Explain a little bit about what you go through when you're getting your car ready for warmer temperatures.
Well, when you're getting ready for warmer temperatures, you want to make sure your belts and hoses are good shape, all your fluid levels are full, your antifreeze is good and clean. Make sure there's not a bunch of debris in front of the radiator. Make sure there's not a bunch of leaks underneath the vehicle because there's a lot of heat built up underneath the hood in the summertime, so you don't want anything bad to go wrong there. Keep an eye on your tires. When they start getting towards the tread wear indicators, make sure the tire pressure is good and up to the right spec.
And when, you know, in the summer it gets hot out, your engine gets hot, is there a way to keep it from overheating? You know, you see some cars on the expressway that have steam coming from them or smoke coming from them. Is there anything that you can do to prevent that from happening?
If you want to make sure your fluid levels are good and make sure you don't have any leaks, because usually when they overheat, there's something wrong. Something's not working. The fan's not running. You got a leak and all your antifreeze is gone. Just make sure there's no leaks and make sure your fan's working. It's a good idea to have your air conditioner checked out before it gets really hot.
What would you say is the most important fluid that's in your vehicle, aside from gas?
Oils is definitely the most important thing. These engines build up a lot of heat and they run a lot hotter than they used to, and you want to make sure your oil's good and clean. And coolant's the second most important, but you want to make sure there's no leaks anywhere.
And now in your car, usually there's an indicator of how warm the engine temperature is. When should you start to be concerned?
Well, most of them had a red warning mark, but if it starts to get, most of these vehicles nowadays are running up around 220, 230, that's not alarming. But if it starts to get up towards the red, then you should pull over or get it checked.
All right, you mentioned a little bit about the tires. When people take road trips, they often don't go pretty close. You know, some people go all the way over to the West Coast, East Coast, down to Florida, Texas, all over the place. We're going to learn about your tires and what you need to know before you take those long road trips coming up in the next half hour.
Nice. I have a friend who's leaving from the Tri-States and going to Vegas and the Grand Canyon, and they're driving the whole way. So
hopefully they're tuning in.
Hey, Chad's friend, pay attention.
All right, thanks, Lindsey. Pay attention to the weather. When the cold weather hits, it is time to get started. Super. When it gets cold, you got to get your car ready for winter.
But not only when it's cold, you have to actually do it whenever spring hits too. That's why Lindsey Boetsch is joining us with some tips on what we should do for spring. Good morning, Lindsey.
Good morning. Take two, Chad. Try again.
No. Need a coffee refill, I think.
Yes, you're right though. In the winter, you need to get your car checked for the winter. In the spring, you need to get your car checked for the spring. It's also a good time to get your oil changed. You should do that about 4 times a year or every 3,000 miles. Some cars you can even push it to 5,000 miles, but we're not going to go there. What we are going to go is to the inside of the door frame, where inside you have a tire information about how the pressure should be. Greg Arns joins me now. Explain a little bit about this.
Most newer vehicles have a label inside the door jamb that tells you exactly what the tire pressure should be on the vehicle.
Okay, and we're going to use the contraption that you have in your hand. I'm going to shut this, Mark. All right, so we have a tire pressure gauge. Explain how to use this for people who might not know, like myself.
You go down to the valve stem, you take the cap off, and you push it firmly against there, and then you can read the needle. Okay. And it tells you exactly what it is in the tire.
Is that where it's supposed to be? I forgot to remember the number.
Yes.
That looks about good. Okay, so now we're down here talking about the tire. What are some other things that you need to know before you take those long road trips or when you're getting ready for the summer?
Well, you want to make sure your tire's wearing even all the way across. And then in between the tread, I don't know if you can see it, there's some tread wear indicators. When it starts getting close to that, you need to think about getting your tires replaced.
And I've heard about a penny trick. You put it in there, and if you can see the top of Lincoln's head?
Exactly. Then it's time to get new tires.
Okay, so we've talked about tires. We've talked about a little bit about checking your oil and changing your fluids. Let's go over the fluids again one more time. What should you need to, or what do you need to replace? What do you need to look at when it comes to summertime?
You need to make sure your oil's changed and it's up to par. Your coolant level, windshield washer fluid. Make sure there's no debris in front of the radiator, bugs, etc. Make sure your belts and hoses are good. Make sure there's no leaks on the vehicle.
What's the most important fluid under the hood?
Oil's the most important, coolant being second most important.
And what does the coolant do?
The coolant circulates through the motor, and then it circulates through the radiator, which takes the heat out of it, and then it takes the heat out of the engine.
Which prevents overheating.
Yes.
All right, and if your car does overheat, what should you do?
If it overheats, don't keep driving it. Pull over and call somebody.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much for this information. Again, it's important to remember in the winter, you winterize your car, you put blankets in it, you put hats, scarves, gloves, all that extra stuff, but you still need to have all of your emergency equipment in your vehicle. Flares, make sure you have maybe a cell phone in there just in case something happens, and you can give somebody a call if you need any help.
All right, and don't open the radiator cap when the car's hot.
Because it's boiling, it's hot in there,
That is
and
bad news.
steam and
Bad news.
From experience?
No.
Okay.
No.